oh, 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 oh. Guess who's back, 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 back again, again, again. Soul is back. Tell your friends. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Click all of the buttons. Make sure they are working correctly. Guess who's back? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, The Inner Storyteller. Welcome back to your real life. I'm very excited to be back. I had to take a break. Okay, I had to take a break, and it was uh I needed some time to reset my mind. And then the other day I was just super tired. Guys, I work 7 days a week, okay? Here in America, you know, we get like 3 days of paid leave a year. um and I've been watching so many videos of other people talk about how it is in their countries and how or Americans that go on work visas and temporary visas to other countries, and they're getting part-time jobs just to get a little extra cash. And like the part-time job is like, yeah, is this go okay for you? Do you like working here? The country is like, and I think we can get you on our healthcare, and we can get you, you know, uh on our programs and things so that you can, be taken care of. And if you ever need anything, just let us know. In America, it ain't like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that for the foreigners, and it ain't like that for us who are from here. Um, but you know, it's not like those other countries are free from the religion of monetary value, which is what we're talking about today. So I'm not going to play the game of, America's better or these other countries are better, get out of America. Um, I do lean towards America is very much lied to about the happiness level and condition of other citizens and civilians of other nations. Um, I think we're lied to the most about the happiness of women in a lot of Arab nations. I think that we're lied to a lot about the happiness and like working conditions in, you know, Asian countries. I just think certain things are probably, it's very likely that things are exaggerated. Just like when our government, when our politicians try and tell other countries how happy America is, and all of Black America just goes all at the same time. But really, any sensible person at all who has to pay a bill, uh, is doing the face palm at the same time. As soon as we try to exaggerate how happy we are, I think we're lied to about how unhappy other countries are. But we'll leave that right there because right now we're going to talk about something that affects all of us. It affects absolutely everybody. But first, if you are here, just know that you are in for some real conversations, good people. We talk about natural law, we talk about religion, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We talk about money, anarchy, culture, and how mankind is manipulated, right, from the shadows by forces that do not have our best interests at heart because they are completely evil. And okay, nice. There we go. Boom. And we're not bashing any faith systems here. We're not calling people stupid for having a religion or anything like that. We are simply examining the psychological affects and effects of the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we have the most faith in, the ones that help shape society. And that examination of those stories has to sit neatly right alongside an honest look at the current human condition, which is slavery, good people. government is slavery. And the question we have to keep coming back to is, well, what can actually be improved with a proper understanding of the inner storyteller and how it works? And if any of that makes you uneasy, makes you a little angry, or makes you uncomfortable in any way, please be assured and reassured that although you are 100% encouraged to stay and listen and maybe confront some of those feelings, you are also 100,000% welcome to leave whenever you so choose after you like the video. You have to like the video first, okay? Gotta like the video. And I heard through the grapevine, it was a vine of grapes, and I heard through the vine that if you like the video within the first 10 minutes, even if the video is already like you're watching live and the video's already been going for a while and now you've rewound it far enough to see me say this, but the video is technically, if you like it within your first 10 minutes of watching the video, I heard through the grapevine there might be a little leprechaun sitting at the end of the rainbow near your house, and his pot of gold got your name on it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't, these are the allegations. These are the allegations, good people. They're not the facts yet. You have to go confirm at the foot of the rainbow. Now, without further ado, let us go ahead and get started with today's video. I was watching Levi Rosman, also known as Gotham Chess, on the Flagrant podcast with Andrew Schultz, comedian guy. And he was telling this story about a chess tournament when he was like a little kid, right? I think he said his age, but I forget how old. I want to say 8, but if I'm like 4 or 5 years off, I apologize to Levy. Anyway, he tells this story about a chess tournament that I think highlights the problem with the religion of monetary value, almost unlike any other story I could tell you. So here is the thumbnail. Go ahead and kind of soak that in for a second. You know, um, you see all of the references to the chess and to the monies and whatnot. And yeah, let's listen to this story, shall we? So, I want to start today off with a story. Welcome to the Inner Storyteller. And the story is about 2 8-year-old chess players at a chess tournament. And it's as close to a true story as can be. Levy told this story himself on on Andrew's podcast, and I'm going to try and do a retell in the way that it highlights what I want to talk about today. If I get any specific details wrong, feel free to go and watch Gotham Chess on Flagrant Podcast to get the real deal. Holyfield, although he didn't go into too much detail either. Here we go. A kid named Levi Rosman, some of you may know him from YouTube, was in a tournament as a child, and he was already pretty good. Good enough to make it all the way to the finals of this tournament, actually. And lo and behold, the person meeting him at the other side of the board at the end of this tournament was a friend of Levy's. So he says. He said he's playing his friend in the final match of this tournament. Friends in real life, outside of chess, who just happened to end up at this championship or last round board. These were 2 children. Okay, and I know if you don't have children and you're watching this, this is not going to hit you the same way it's going to hit parents. Unless, you're a super, super dedicated uncle or auntie. But these were 2 children, okay? Keep that in mind. They did not yet have the same relationship with the religion of monetary value that we as adults, as taxpayers, hold on. Let me sign back into Google real quick. I do some of my notes. Oh, I think I misspelled. Yep, missed one. Boom. Oh, gotta do the thing on the phone. You gotta do the double authentications. There we go. So when you get randomly signed out of Google, um, and you're like looking at your notes on a Google Doc. Did I say Google Maps? I hope I didn't say Google Maps. I hope I said Google Doc. If I said anything at all, I know Google Maps flashed through my head and it made me pause before saying something stupid. Anyway, I'm signed back in. I'm just scrolling down to where I was in my notes. Here we go. There were two children. They did not have the same relationship with this religion of monetary value as we do, right? As taxpayers, as adults with bills and responsibilities that are purely financial, which just means purely accounting. Um, and as people who have spent decades, possibly, or a decade maybe, inside of this, oh no, definitely decades, inside of this belief system and carry it around with us every day. These children are not yet there. They only have a couple years within this religion. By the way, I should probably define the religion of monetary value. Sorry, I'm like scratching my hip. Do I have a definition in my old book? Don't remember. Um, I don't. I don't. Let me. Don't remember if I have a definition of the religion of monetary value in my old book, but I do know how to search for where I have to find it in a database cloud thingy. So let me define the religion of monetary value for you before I move on in my notes for today. Because basically, you have to have some foundation for this story, for this story's like punchline to really hit. So actually, I said actually twice. Remove this for now again. Put me here. Boom. The religion of monetary value in my work is the worldwide held belief system that money, or the value that we assign our representations thereof, okay, the representations of money are assigned value. That value is real, naturally occurring, necessary for human life to flourish, a necessary feature of human life. Okay, monetary value. It has its own clergy, right? Banks, governments, financial institutions, investment firms, um, people that write law and regulation and whatnot in regard to accounting, all of that, right? It has its clergy, it has its doctrine, its many doctrines, right? We got inflation, we got interest, taxation, debt, uh, cancellation, all of these things. It has its rituals, right? You got forms that you're familiar with. You got filing. You got certain dates. You have um, your mandatory reporting. You have various ways of paying tribute to your owners and masters. And like every religion, it only works as long as enough people believe it does, right? And the moment that the belief in the religion stops, the religion is dissolves into actual nature, right? And that's not a metaphor, it's just how it works. The religion of monetary value is simple. It's the story that the whole world is living inside of that says the value we assign to the representations of this thing called money is real, right? In shorthand, you would say it's the religion that money is real. But I'm saying it's the value that we assign to it because that's the real thing that's fake. Obviously, we can draw up a dollar bill, put 50 symbols on it that represent various Freemasonic and or occult concepts, and say this is a unit of money, and therefore money is real, right? So I'm saying the value that we give that dollar or whatever bill it is, that the value that we give it, the religion of monetary value, in its most simple definition, says that value is real. It's naturally occurring, right? That money is the legitimate gatekeeper of access to the abundance that exists independent of money. And lastly, the religion of monetary value has a God, which is called, well, it's in my book, it's called the market. We don't have time to explain the market because I got to get back to my story. But wanted to go ahead and define the religion of monetary value for the climax of the story. So far, we got two kids. They made it to the final round of the tournament. They're friends outside of chess, the event or whatever. They're friends, and they make it to the finals, and they're getting ready to do the final match. And as a side note, they don't yet have the same relationship with the religion of monetary value that adults around them do, right? So Levy has an idea. Levy has an idea. He leans over to his friend before the final match and he says something like, "Hey, you want to just play fast? Like as fast as we can, get it over with, split the prize money?" And his friend is thrilled to hear this proposal. And why wouldn't he be? They're kids and it's prize money, which is like food money or whatever, right? Maybe I don't know. I was going to say video game controller. It's just it's money, right? Prize money. Why wouldn't his friend be thrilled to hear such a proposal? So they agreed. They played. They played fast. Levy won. They split the cash evenly and they went home. Definitely still as good friends, if not closer friends, than they were the morning of. Right? Now, the story should end there. But it doesn't. And obviously, if you're an adult, you're watching this, you know where this is going. They did an uh-oh, but it's only an uh-oh because of the religion of monetary value. So the other kid gets home, the one that we don't know his name. He gets home and he happens to tell his mom what happened. Probably after she asked about prize money or how the tournament went or something like that. And shortly after that, apparently Levy's parents get a call from their house, but from their parents. And suddenly this small, this thing is now a little scandal. Now that we have a swindle on our hands. An occasion that something was taken from someone unfairly. That's the pitch. That something was stripped from someone unfairly. If you don't know what I mean a potential win, okay, a fair outcome through manipulation was seen as taken from the kid that lost. Not because anything about their little arrangement was non-consensual. No. Both kids agreed freely happily, even with full understanding of what they were doing. Okay, nobody was harmed. The friendship is still intact. The money was split evenly, right? Nobody walked away worse off than they arrived. But what changes the moral category of this little event in the adult mind is that money is involved. Think about what actually happened, right? Like put the scenario outside of the money system for a second. You got two friends, equally enough skilled. Levy might have had an edge, right? But equally enough skilled. We can assume they were equally skilled. They reach the final round of a competition. One of them suggests that instead of competing fully with full whatever against each other, they instead just kind of share the outcome that they already worked to get to and they're friends. This, by every standard that we've used to look at moral situations on this channel, has consent, it has the absence of coercion or force, right? It has the absence of harm and loss, like property loss. There's nothing wrong. This is a clean moral transaction if there ever was one. If they'd done this exact same thing over a trophy with no cash involved, nobody would have probably called it a scandal, right? If they'd done the exact same thing over um, a t-shirt, you know, although that's kind of like money. A product is kind of like money, but just, yeah, another symbol, like a trophy, or just bragging rights, then nobody really bats an eye. But as soon as there's cash prize money, excuse me, cash prize cash, as soon as there's prize money, it's a swindle, right? If they had done it over who got to pick the next game that they played together, nobody would have called their parents. The inner storyteller of the adults involved, the parents who escalated the phone call, possibly, if they had to answer for this at all, the arbiters and administrators and facilitators of the event, um, of the tournament. Who knows? I don't know. But the inner storyteller filed the behavior under cheating. This was a cheating scandal, right? Under something that needed to be corrected and explained and apologized for. And that's just the religion of monetary value doing exactly what we described in previous episodes when we explain what money actually is on this channel. Value, when it shows up specifically in monetary form, is treated as something sacred because we believe monetary value to be directly connected with the survival of the individual. We treat it as if it requires its own special moral category, and that as if its existence can bend and blend moral lines. It can't. The children were not initiated fully into this religion yet. Their decision came from something older, something much more actually natural. called friendship, fairness between equals, mutual benefit, right? And the adult's reaction was just like the religious assertion of the jurisdiction of the religion of monetary value and its clergy over an event that, even if the kid just lied about it, it probably, like, if he told a good enough lie, it probably would have brushed over. But the truth that two friends decided not to try their hardest and just split the prize money instead of trying their hardest, and the one that won gets all of the prize money and the other one doesn't, which is another way you can do things like tournaments. And they're kids, and the prize money doesn't belong to anybody else. It's like they just decided, because they were already friends, you know what, we made it here, let's split the money, let's do the thing, let's go to the movie, whatever. And it's like, nope, no, you're cheating. He influenced him. And that's the part I need us to sit with, right? That's the part that we got to sit with. When a thing is monetized, something changes. Not the actual ethics of the situation, mind you. Nothing changes within the moral categories or the moral observation of the actions taken. Nothing changes in that regard. Only in how the situation gets perceived and judged, and how the people involved get judged, and who suddenly claims authority over the whole thing. That's what changes. And it's always for the worst. No, it's 99% for the worst. We see this everywhere once you start looking for it. This exact same act of generosity, the exact same act of generosity may have completely different worldviews, may result in completely different judgments, if you will, depending on whether money was involved in the situation. What do I mean? Help a neighbor move some furniture, and there's no money involved, and you're a good neighbor, right? Let's say you're not friends, but you're a neighbor, and they're struggling, and you see them, and you end up working all day helping them move their furniture, right? You're a good neighbor. Now, charge said neighbor a small fee for the same help. Okay, involve money somehow. And obviously, if it's not your furniture, you would be the one doing the charging. Charge the neighbor a small fee for the same help. And suddenly, the IRS has to know about it. Or the state needs an accounting, or there's a tax category, some sort of reporting threshold, right? There's a question of whether you're operating an unlicensed business, right? There's a question of whether this has to be declared as income or not, or a whole bunch of other um, trigger words, right? The whole level of seriousness shoots up to the moon instantly if that symbol called money is introduced. As soon as money is in the room, the labor can be identical, the neighbor's need can be identical, the help itself does not change in any way. The only thing that changes is the presence of money, which, the clergy of this religion have decided that now that requires jurisdiction. And that's the real tell. It's not that society is generally, it's not that society in general gets a little uncomfortable or starts gossiping. It's that the actual institutional machinery of the religion of monetary value, the state, the IRS, the entire apparatus built to track, tax, and regulate people activates immediately and formally the movement, the moment money shows up. And this happens in a way that no other form of human exchange ever triggers. There's nothing else that does this because it's unnatural, right? You can teach someone's child to read for free all afternoon for weeks at a time, even for years. No institution will ever ask you a single thing. Charge that same family $20 for the same hour of the same instruction, and you've entered a different legal category entirely. And they will enforce their regulations, ordinances, codes, and laws surrounding this transaction, right? The clergy of this religion isn't watching to see if you've helped someone, they're watching to see if the sacred symbol changed hands or not, and if they have absolute control over the lives of us using the symbol or not. Right? And we talked in an earlier episode about how energy is the actual real currency anyway. That's why we call it currency. This is current of energy, movement of any kind is the actual currency every time that you're talking about a project getting done and money exchanging hands. Beneath the accounting, there's the energy, the movement that happened to make the thing get done. Money, on the other hand, is a part of the story about said energy, but it's never the energy itself, and it can never be because there's no such real thing as monetary value. And this chess story, almost a laboratory clean demonstration of the idea, shows you get to watch the exact moment that the story gets attached, right? Before the parents found out that the prize money was split, there was nothing wrong. There was no scandal. There's no swindle, right? You could imagine it's possible that it wasn't even really about the win. Like, and I don't know these people, so I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying you could imagine this for a lot of people in a similar situation that um even if the parents heard when they asked how did the tournament go that the last game was against their friend Levy and they decided to just kind of play really fast cuz they were tired and they just wanted to go home. If there was no and we split the prize money, it might not have even been called a cheating thing there. Who knows? But I would imagine it's 100% because of the prize money. That's just my guess. I don't know these people. Not trying to I'm not trying to paint anybody who I don't know in a bad light. I'm trying to highlight what money does to our minds and examine the psychological effects of the stories that we tell about money to ourselves. Now, where was I? Here I am. So, yeah, the moment that the symbol entered the frame, the behavior was retroactively reevaluated as if it had always been a different kind of act from the beginning. It wasn't a different act. It was the same act of friendship done in millions and millions of different ways when there's no such thing as money involved or when nobody knows about the thing, right? When nobody gets caught. But the story did change. The fruit, meaning the actual outcome, the actual harm or lack of harm, the actual consent or lack of consent, never changed at all. Now, I think the reason that this story is kind of funny, right? And it is funny. There's something genuinely charming about kids outsmarting the tournament in this way. But the reason why it's a little funny is because it shows us our own conditioning from the outside, right? For a second, before the adults react, most people hearing this story would smile. Two friends splitting their earnings and going home happy, probably with a high five, right? Let me put my picture back up. Um, you know, I wish I could turn the brightness up on some of the picture. Anyway, you would smile listening to a story like that, right? That's a natural human reaction under the religion. But then the religion has to reassert itself, right? Say, wait a minute, there was a problem. There was an oopsie. Somebody committed a cheat. And there's a gap between the real natural reaction and our conditioned reaction. And that gap between our two reactions is the religion doing its work. So we have to pay attention to things like that. If we're going to rewrite these stories within ourselves, we have to learn how our thoughts are formed and pay attention when we are met with untruths coming from the inside and tell the truth and act the truth, right? If two 8-year olds can find their way to a fair, kind, mutual, and consensual agreement without conditioning, even when money is involved, and then get punished by the adults around them, specifically for freely doing so, that tells you something important about who actually needs to learn a lesson in that story. Spoiler alert, it's not the children. And the question that you always got to come back to on my channel, good people, is what story are you willing to live? Let me know in the comments after you like the video, after you subscribe to the channels. Can't wait to see you guys there. I'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Peace. And also, I think I'm going to go ahead and do a reaction video tomorrow because obviously I missed Saturday, which is usually my reaction series kind of day. So we'll get back on that, I think, tomorrow. Peace. And love, always and always.